When life begins to tighten its grip, it rarely announces itself loudly. It starts quietly, through restless thoughts, an uneasy chest, a sense that something is slipping out of control. You wake up already tired, your mind racing ahead of your body, rehearsing problems that have not yet happened. The world feels heavier than it should, and even the smallest decisions feel loaded with pressure. This is how anxiety often works, not as a sudden storm, but as a slow, suffocating fog. And in that fog, clarity becomes a rare luxury. But there is a way through it, a method refined over centuries, not built on fleeting comfort but on enduring strength. The Stoic approach does not promise to remove anxiety entirely. Instead, it teaches you how to stand firm within it. It gives you the tools to remain steady when everything around you feels unstable. Because the truth is, life will overwhelm you at times. That part is unavoidable. What matters is how you respond when it does. And that response can either trap you deeper in anxiety, or begin to set you free. The Stoics understood something most people resist. Anxiety is not caused by events themselves, but by our interpretation of them. Two people can face the same situation. One collapses under pressure, the other remains composed. The difference lies not in the circumstance, but in the judgment attached to it. When your mind tells you, "This is too much," your body follows. When it whispers, "I cannot handle this," anxiety tightens its hold. But these thoughts are not facts. They are impressions, automatic, often irrational responses shaped by habit, fear, and past experiences. The Stoic practice begins by questioning these impressions. Not accepting them blindly, but examining them with discipline. Is this situation truly unbearable, or does it only feel that way? Is the outcome as catastrophic as your mind suggests, or is it exaggerating the threat? This shift, from passive reaction to active examination, is where control begins. It is subtle, but powerful. Because once you stop believing every anxious thought, you create space between yourself and the chaos inside your mind. That space is where clarity lives. And clarity is the first weapon against overwhelm. When everything feels urgent, your mind tries to solve everything at once. It jumps from problem to problem, creating a loop of tension with no resolution. Stoicism interrupts this cycle by forcing you to narrow your focus. Instead of asking, "How do I fix everything?" it asks a simpler, sharper question. What is within my control right now? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. This question cuts through anxiety like a blade. Because most of what overwhelms you lies outside your control: other people's actions, future outcomes, unpredictable events. When you fixate on these, anxiety grows. But when you redirect your attention to what you can control, your actions, your responses, your mindset, you reclaim power. Even in chaos, there is always something within your reach. And focusing on that restores a sense of stability. It reminds you that you are not as helpless as you feel. Yet the mind resists this discipline. It clings to worry as if worrying itself is a form of control. It tells you that if you think hard enough, long enough, you can prevent what you fear. But this is an illusion. Worry does not prepare you, it exhausts you. It drains your energy without producing solutions. The Stoics recognized this and treated unnecessary worry as a misuse of attention. They understood that your mental energy is limited, and how you spend it determines your resilience. When you waste it on imagined scenarios, you weaken your ability to handle real challenges. But when you conserve it, directing it only toward what matters, you become stronger, more focused, more effective. This is not about ignoring problems. It is about refusing to suffer twice, once in imagination, and again in reality. Most of what you fear will never happen. And even if it does, you will face it better with a calm mind than an anxious one. Another cornerstone of the Stoic approach is acceptance, not passive resignation, but active acknowledgement of reality. Anxiety often comes from resisting what is already happening. You replay events, wishing they were different, fighting against facts that cannot be changed. This internal resistance creates friction, and that friction becomes suffering. Stoicism teaches you to remove that friction. To look at your situation clearly and say, "This is what is happening." Not what should be happening, not what you wish were happening, but what is. This acceptance does not weaken you, it grounds you. Because once you stop arguing with reality, you can begin to work with it. You shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What can I do with this?" And that shift transforms anxiety into action. It moves you from helplessness to agency, from emotional chaos to deliberate response. But perhaps the most difficult Stoic lesson is this: you must confront your fears directly. Not avoid them, not suppress them, but face them with honesty. Anxiety thrives in avoidance. The more you run from what scares you, the larger it becomes in your mind. But when you turn toward it, something unexpected happens, it begins to shrink. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, a technique where they intentionally imagined worst-case scenarios. Not to frighten themselves, but to desensitize their fear. They asked, "What is the worst that could happen?" And then they followed that thought to its conclusion. Often they discovered that the worst was not as unbearable as they had imagined, or that they could endure it if necessary. This practice builds resilience. It prepares your mind for adversity instead of leaving it vulnerable to shock. And in doing so, it reduces the power that fear holds over you. At the same time, Stoicism reminds you of something easily forgotten in moments of overwhelm. Everything is temporary. The stress you feel, the pressure weighing on you, the uncertainty surrounding your life, it will pass. Not because problems magically disappear, but because life is constantly changing. Nothing remains fixed. Anxiety tries to convince you that your current state is permanent, that things will always feel this way. But that is never true. You have felt overwhelmed before, and you survived. You have faced uncertainty before, and you adapted. This moment is no different. Remembering this does not solve your problems instantly, but it changes your perspective. It introduces patience. And patience is essential, because not all solutions are immediate. Some require time, persistence, and endurance. Stoicism teaches you to endure without panic, to move forward without needing instant relief. There is also a deeper layer to anxiety that Stoicism addresses: the fear of losing control over your life. This fear often drives the need to predict, to plan excessively, to secure every possible outcome. But the reality is, control is always limited. No matter how much you prepare, life will surprise you. It will disrupt your plans, challenge your expectations, and force you into situations you did not choose. The Stoic response is not to fight this uncertainty, but to accept it as part of life. To understand that control is not about shaping external events, but about mastering your internal state. When you focus on controlling your thoughts, your reactions, your behavior, you achieve a level of stability that external chaos cannot easily disturb. This is true freedom. Not the absence of problems, but the ability to remain composed despite them. And composition is built through practice, not theory. Stoicism is not something you understand once and apply perfectly. It is something you train daily, like a muscle. You remind yourself of what is within your control. You challenge anxious thoughts. You accept reality as it is. You confront your fears. You practice patience. Over time, these habits reshape your mind. They do not eliminate anxiety completely, but they change your relationship with it. Instead of being overwhelmed by it, you learn to observe it. To recognize it as a temporary state, not a defining truth. And in that recognition, its intensity begins to fade. Ultimately, the Stoic way is not about becoming emotionless. It is about becoming steady. It allows you to feel anxiety without being consumed by it. To experience pressure without collapsing under it. To face uncertainty without losing yourself in it. Life will continue to challenge you, that is guaranteed. But you do not have to meet those challenges with fear. You can meet them with clarity, discipline, and strength. And when you do, something shifts. The same situations that once overwhelmed you begin to feel manageable. The same thoughts that once controlled you lose their authority. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to reclaim control, not over life, but over yourself.